So, wow, so that's pretty controversial art, very controversial artist, Bruce LaBruce. Is that art? What defines art? Is it a Picasso, so you can see a face and you're actually doing something? Is it, a pig fetus in a jar? Is it a bar inside of an art gallery? Our next guest, actually, that's his exhibit at the Art Gallery of Alberta. Jesse Sherburne, everybody. Welcome, Jesse. So,
thank you. Thank you very much.
So your exhibit on display right now is actually again a bar in a gallery.
Yeah, not just like the stand-up sort of bar. It's a full-scale space. Like it's been designed. There's bulkheads and hanging chandeliers and everything. The whole thing.
Oh, so the experience is you walk into like literally a bar.
Essentially, completely a bar. Yeah. And
you can drink there and chat with your friends. What is your hope? What is your reaction people will get?
Well, the opening night you can drink there and talk with your friends, and then that's being video documented, and then that's going to be replayed in the space. So it's basically a ghost image of that first night. So you're sort of looking at the experience, and people are sort of going through that experience again, and maybe living vicariously through the mythology of that was what was developed that night.
What do you have to say to people who go, okay, look, you're using a bit of grant money, you've created a bar. Come on, this is not art. You didn't paint anything. You didn't put anything on a wall. It's not the art that I know. I say congratulations, you're thinking. It's about dialogue, and I'm raising issues about what is the value of art in society. And I'm mixing entertainment, I'm mixing design, I'm mixing art, and I'm raising the questions about what is art. That's the question I'm asking. I'm asking people to deduce that and sort of figure out what role art plays to them. Now, again, you used a bit of grant money. Should government grants be used on these experimental types of art? And yours certainly is not out the outrageous, puke on a thing and sell it for $1 million or whatever. But do you think, because every time that happens, even when it's not a huge piece, like the Voice of Fire, that was like
3 Stripes.
Yeah, $1.7 million in 1990. People went crazy. Do they have a right to go crazy?
I think they do to some degree, but it depends on the work. And my work falls in a lineage of contemporary explorations. And I'm getting my master's degree. I have a BFA, and I have a history of education and studying. And so it's not like I'm arbitrarily barfing on a painting and asking for money. Like, I come from a tradition of art making and a tradition of questioning sort of the value of art in society. And so I think it's legitimate. And, grant money doesn't always go to us avant-garde artists. It goes to, it's a broad-based sort of granting, procedure. So. Well, we want to definitely hear from you. Get on the web, get on the phone, get in touch with us. Should the government grant all types of art? And Jesse, can we stick around all day?
Yes. And I want to bring out our next guest because she's an artist, writer, and performer, and she's been called the bellwether of the Toronto indie cultural scene. Her name is Tyler Clark Burke, and we had a chance to check out her latest exhibit called Chimera here in Toronto. Here it is.
There was a challenge, like working with computers and trying to make something that I actually thought sort of was organic and had feeling without it seeming totally clinical, and because of glass, there was also that challenge.
Wow. So Tyler Clark Burke.
Oh yes, hello.
Thank you. I was mesmerized by the exhibit.
Me too.
So it's glass boxes, and your etchings are etched in the glass with a laser. Explain to me how.
It's so bizarre and mysterious. I don't actually totally know. Like, the guy wouldn't really explain it to me, but lasers basically enter the glass and then melt little bits that correspond to a computer file. So it's the first time I've ever done art that actually ultimately was made as a computer file, but they're my drawings and sketches, and so they're like my weird thoughts and paintings made 3D.
Wow. And you've been
it's
doing...
weird to me. It's weird seeing it. I'm like, wow, this is so weird. I haven't seen it.
But your stuff is, you must be used to seeing your stuff because you did the cover art for the very famous Crotch Shot Peaches album, which I think we have a shot of. That was your photo. And I know you've done a lot of performance art stuff as well. Like, one thing that really I was interested in was the spoons. You had 40 people.
Wow, how do you know that? That's so crazy. You know what? See, that was a total misrepresentation, actually, because I went to a dinner party where people did that.
Well, let's tell people what it was.
It was amazing.
It was 40 people sitting at a dinner party with spoons tied together, so that if one person didn't eat, nobody could eat, right?
Not quite. It wasn't quite that strict. Like, there was actually some room, but it was just that idea of there being community, like just sitting together, as a group and really feeling like this incredibly long table. It was a Thanksgiving dinner, and it was really binding in a really nice way.
So is that
really cool.
Is that art, that kind of unified experience with people?
It felt that way, yeah. I mean, that's why I make art. When I have those moments like that, it inspires me, where you really feel like you're part of it, like an exciting moment. It's like watching a team win a game, unlike last night, I guess. But, but
that was not art.
No. But, no, that was not art. But when you watch it, you get that really excited feeling, and people are talking and communicating with each other. Like I'm addicted to that. So that's what. I think that's why I make art, is because I like that feeling.
And we've been talking about the subjectiveness of like government funding, and that seems to be the controversy in Canada when the government pushes a bunch of money to an artist. Is there a line as far as what should and should not be funded?
I don't think so. I mean, I think interesting projects should be funded, but then that's open to such interpretation. I've actually never applied for a grant, but I'm really interested in doing so. I've no problem with like grant funding, but it is an interesting question. I come from a music background as well, so people sort of wonder if it's actually helping a creative community or in some way stymieing it. So.
We've got Christian on the webcam in Mississauga. Go ahead, Christian.
Hi.
Hey.
My idea on art is that, people have to choose themselves what they consider art. From like the Etch-a-Sketch to paintings in the Louvre, there are so many different types of art, and if you find something you like, that's great, and you shouldn't let other people decide what you like.
Would you guys agree with that any kind of artistic expression equals art?
I don't know who should answer that. I mean, I think if it gives me that electric feeling I was just talking about, if it's interesting, I want to talk about it. If I hate it, if I love it, I think that's really valid.
I would agree with that. I think art, like I said before, art's, it's there to raise issues and sort of reflect society back onto itself. And I think any art that's sort of doing that successfully will get people talking. And then I think it's valid. If nobody cares about it, it disappears, then maybe it wasn't that worth it in the first place. So.
Wow.
Before we get it, very briefly, diving into this whole art scene away from your Picassos at the local gallery, it's very intimidating. What would you say to somebody who's going, okay, I want to get into what you're doing, how do I do it? What's the first step?
I'm gonna let you take that one.
Go ahead, Jesse.
I started by being obsessed by certain anarchic ideas, and challenging, sort of like interested in, as a punk rock kid, challenging the status quo. And so I started to look into art history and look at sort of what had been done before and sort of the questions that were raised throughout history. And then, you sort of start to develop like an understanding and trace your trajectory where you're going to go with your career. So I start there and then get into a good art school, and find peers that are doing work. That you like, and get together and sort of try and develop your concepts together.
So don't necessarily vomit on yourself, take pictures, and try to sell it.
Yeah, but maybe actually now I really want to actually respond to that, because I do think there's something about, as a kid, making art where it's just really exciting and validating and whatever. But the question is whether or not you want to join a community, like actually make art with other people, or do it at home for yourself. Right. And that's a whole other question, because I think that's really valid as well. It not being part of a community. It's just how I want to do my art in terms of with other people. So going to school is a great idea, but also staying at home and painting walls for 10 years by yourself is a good idea too.
Okay, well, Tyler Clark Burke, the exhibit is amazingly beautiful. It's called Chimera, and it's on now through July 1st in Toronto. For all the details, head to santacruzforever.com. And Art Bar, all the info is at artgalleryalberta.com, as well as jessesherburne.com. Tyler Clark Burke and Jesse Sherburne.
Thank you both for being here today. Mike Shinoda from Lincoln Park and Fort Minor sat down with our very own Dan Levy to discuss art. Have a look.
From Fort Minor. Now this guilt is really all that I got. He's studying to become an illustrator, correct? Well, we're gonna kind of challenge you artistically here.
Okay.
We were thinking of maybe exercising our creative minds and doing some life drawing. So we'll
Great.
draw each other if that's okay. Used to have a concept of where I stand, and that concept slipped right out of my hand. You most known for your work with Lincoln Park. You've kind of released this album now, which is you've kind of gone away, and this is just you.
I had a vision for the record that I wanted to kind of stick by. Most hip-hop right now is so rigid, it's so keyboard-driven. I wanted the record to be unique, have its own vibe, to stand out against kind of everything else. I did all the production on the record, I did the mixing on the record. If you hear me rapping, I wrote that. If you hear somebody singing, I wrote that. The only exceptions are, like, if you hear somebody else rapping, they wrote it. On the right track, but I was on the wrong train. And then there's some, instruments on there, like strings and wire and some percussion and things like that other people play. This is really funny.
Not as funny as this.